Welcome to the Wisconsin Wrestler Podcast with your co-hosts Teague Fenwick and Steve Lurkwood.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wisconsin Wrestler Podcast. I'm your host, Teague Fenwick, coming to you, not live, recorded, from Holman. Joining me, as always, from Koshkonong, my co-host, with a brand new hip, Steve Lurkwin. Steve, great to be here.
Pumped to be here. A little bit on some pain pills, but pushing through, doing well. And yeah, people have called me bionic, but I don't feel bionic. Hopefully in a couple of weeks I will.
To clarify, not the pain pills that'll make this show interesting. The show will be interesting, but not because Steve sees a unicorn behind the computer screen or something.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Well, Steve, continuing on. I'm excited for this one. I'm pumped. Continuing on in our Team State Champ Coaches Series. We have, not just a Team State Champ coach, but a recurring guest now on the show. And has to be a short list. I don't know how many coaches we've had that have been on representing two different schools.
Yeah.
Now he is a Team State Champ head coach of Evansville. I'll have a longer intro for him once I get his life story here. But we have none other than Mr. Kent Weiler joining us. Kent, pumped to have you on.
Yeah, guys, it's great to be here. I appreciate what you guys do, and really grateful for everything that you guys do continuously, except for the fact that you didn't pick us.
Wow. Shots fired right away.
Speaking of that, Kent, I know we talked at Team State, and you're not all in on the pomp and circumstance of the Wisconsin Wrestler Podcast predictions, which, we're right 90% of the time, 60% of the time maybe. I did have this shirt right next to me just to pour salt in the wound for myself. I do have a Reedsburg shirt on as a constant reminder tonight of the grand pick that we did not make.
People, I think we make those picks in October, right? That's with the knowledge that we have. And Kent, I know you really well. You think you could throw me a couple bones and say, hey, listen, we got this guy coming in. We got this. So I sound better during our prediction shows. But I was going to introduce Kent as the Lou Holtz. Didn't Lou Holtz bring 4 different college teams to bowl games or something like that? Kent has brought 3 different high schools to team sectionals.
Oh, what's the third one? They got Evansville, Middleton.
Ooh, that's the trivia question. Who was the first one?
Was it like an up north team or something, Kent?
I'll give you a hint, Teague. They were at Team State this year.
D1?
I'm not going to tell you which division. I mean, that's giving it away.
Oh, I was just like, dare I say Wanakee? But that's a lot of Big 8. Oh man, I don't know, Steve. What is it, Kat?
Well, we celebrated with them Friday night at Team State.
Cedar Grove, Belgium.
Cedar Grove, Belgium.
Wow, I did not know that.
Well, there you go. Unintentionally, there's my trivia question. I'll bank it on that. On pain pills. So that's my trivia question right there.
Well, hey, we might talk about that stint for a little bit because Kent, last time we had you on, this is your third time on now because you were on with Danny. Yeah. So we had you on with Danny, and that show was about Danny. We had you on for the preview, and we got a lot to get through with that. But now, a little more intimate setting. We got some more time to hash through it. We get to hear the life story of Mr. Kent Weiler, the wrestling life story, that is. Kent, let's start from day one. If you want to get rolling, let's hear about your wrestling story.
Sure. So I'll give it to you from the beginning because this year was really really cool. The team state part of it was I started elementary school in Auburndale. So that's where both my parents are from. So I was an Auburndale kid. And then shortly after that, I went to Vesper, which was part of the Rapids, Wisconsin Rapids School District. And I was there all the way up just prior to high school. Um, so, yeah, and I was in Vesper, and I have to mention this. It's got some great wrestling history in Vesper that all fed into Wisconsin Rapids and to much of their success over how many years. But there was a guy there that used to coach. His name is Bill Winch, and so that's a really kind of cool part of my wrestling history. I give a lot of thanks and gratitude for that man putting me in that position, or just to be there. And so that was obviously my mom or my parents. So I got to grow up in that atmosphere in the Wisconsin Rapids, area. Well, Auburndale, and then Wisconsin Rapids through Vesper, through Bill Winch, and then just a little prior to high school, my stepdad was relocated to Green Bay, and I graduated high school from Green Bay West. And there I had a coach by the name of Scott Phillips, who's now still helps out in the Ashwaubenon School District. So, and his son was actually a state champ for Ashwaubenon. So that was another great part of my wrestling time. I was at the state tournament a couple times. I placed third as a sophomore. And then senior year, I had a couple, I'd like to say probably world team member guys that I couldn't get through to get to the placement. It was really weird. And my junior year in high school, I had what they called a cervical strain in my neck and spine. So I couldn't wrestle that year. And then my senior year had a really good high school team with a lot of great teammates and good coaching staff. And then, yeah, I only placed that one time, but I was a freestyle state champion probably a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Won Northern Plains a couple times in freestyle, so that was kind of my gig. I really loved freestyle. And yeah, there was a time I went to LA in 1984. I was on a schoolboy, I guess it was at the time a schoolboy world team
Yep.
for freestyle. So I did that, and I got to hang out in LA for the Olympics in 1984 as a junior Olympian, which was,
Cool.
yeah, it was real fun. Hopefully some kids get an opportunity to replicate that this coming Olympic Games coming up in LA.
So Kent, real
After,
quick, sorry to interrupt here, because I'm not a freestyle expert, so I'm curious. What do you feel was the difference between your success in freestyle and your success in folk style? Were you not a big mat wrestling guy, or what attributes did you have that made you a better freestyle wrestler?
I guess I really don't know. I could say that it was just another extension of wrestling for me.
Yep.
Um, it was more relaxed, more fun. I could say this: when I was a high school wrestler, I internalized a lot of things in folk style, and internalized a lot of wrestling. Probably got in my own head way too much. And that hindered me from probably being. I was really good in folk style.
Yeah.
But I think that was probably the biggest part, that it was pretty relaxed. Um, and it's free, right? You wrestle free. When you wrestle free, things seem to come a little bit easier for people, and that's the way I like. And I like to go big. I never wrestled Greco at all. I mean, I would be a training partner for Dennis Hall. I trained with him, and I kind of did some camps with him, and we still talk about some of the fun times we had in Greco. But I got kind of tired of getting thrown by him at camps, so
Makes sense.
rightfully so. I just kind of moved on from that, and then you know, my success in college was because I got out of my own way.
Where'd you go
So
wrestle in college?
so I went to go wrestle at UW Whitewater. I was actually committed to go somewhere else, and I had a weird thing at the Wisconsin Minnesota All Star Classic. I was in that situation. I was there, and at weigh-ins, weirdly enough, I cut the tip of my finger off in a car door. Um,
Oh.
yep, and so I made weight, weirdly enough, and then I did that, and I kind of have a scar. If people want to see it, sometimes I can tell them that story. But I tell this wrestling story. Um, so we went up to Blaine, Minnesota, and I had already signed my letter of intent to wrestle at the University of Nebraska with Coach Newman because he was a Peshtigo guy originally, and he had a relationship with my high school coach. So he had seen me wrestle freestyle, but he had never seen me wrestle folk style. And weirdly enough, that kind of changed everything, the trajectory of my college wrestling. Um, they, yeah, they, it was kind of a struggle for college for financially with my mom. So I didn't get enough what I wanted to go there.
Yep.
And the coach there, because he was a Wisconsin guy, he said, you know, go wrestle with my older brother, Corey, was at UW Whitewater. My middle brother, the one you're just a year older than me, was at UW Whitewater, and he said, "Go wrestle with your brother Corey. You become an All-American. You can come. We can come back to us right away." And then so I went to UW Whitewater with the great Hall of Fame coach Willie Myers. A great blessing to myself and a lot of other wrestlers to be under his tutelage, and broke my ankle my freshman year, had some knee problems. Kind of, well, that was my redshirt year. I broke my ankle. And I was doing really well too. Um, and then the next year I had a knee problem. Next year I had a knee problem. Um, just couldn't get out of my own way. I think I would never give up points. I would fight through them. And so I learned through that situation is that sometimes people are going to be good enough to take you down, and you can let them. Don't break your body. Let that happen, and learn to score points later on. It became part of great part of my coaching philosophy is to be able to do that. Um, and then my junior year, I was academic All-American for Willie, and Willie pulled me into his office and hey Kent, you meet the criteria to be an academic All-American, and we'd like to give you this award. And I denied it. I was a stupid kid. I said, Coach, respectfully, just put that in your file cabinet. I want to be a legit All-American. And he goes, enough said. He filed it away, and so I declined being an academic All-American. And then my senior year, I was actually wrestling up a weight, and I went down to the Ohio Northern tournament, and I got beat by a kid in the quarters or semifinals. I can't remember what it was. This was at 126 pounds, and this kid beat me, and I'm like, well, how am I going to win a national title wrestling that kid? And I went in the locker room, and I was never that kid to like punch locker rooms or anything, because that locker never did anything to me. I went in there and sat down, and Coach Myers came in and was like, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, I can't beat that kid, and if I'm going to win a national title, I got to go through that kid, or I got to beat that kid." And he said, "So what are you going to do about it?" And I just said, "Well, I'm going to cut down to 118, and we're going to start my first 118-pound thing is I'm going to go to the Midlands and wrestle there." So he's like, "Well, I was wondering when you were going to ask me or tell me you were going 118."
Wow.
Kind of a good coaching thing, right? Leave it up to the kid to find out. So I cut to 118, went to the Midlands, and that was by special. Like you just don't go to the Midlands, right? As a D3 wrestler,
Right.
I went there. Um, I I think I drew the number 2 seed right away. Then I won a couple on the backside, and I lost to the kid that eventually took 5th or something like that. So I went 2-2, and that kind of reset my stage for my senior year. At the time, you had to win the state conference to go to nationals. There was wild cards or whatever, but I knew that if I wanted to go to the national tournament, that I had to win the conference. So I won the conference tournament. There was a kid from lacrosse that I had to beat, and
Who was that, Kent? Was that
pretty,
O'Gara?
that was Jeff O'Gara. Yep,
O'Gara, yeah.
yep. And so I go, and then he gets a wild card, and he beats me in the wrestlebacks for to go to 3rd or 5th at the nat. So I beat him. I beat him twice. I beat him at the conference duels, and then I beat him again in the conference tournament. And then I lose to him in the backside. Weirdly enough, I draw the number 1 seed at the national tournament, and it's a good match. I think I lost 7-3. I can't remember. It was such a long time ago. And then I was that guy that loses first round at the NCAA tournament and had to wrestle all the way back. And not only did I wrestle all the way back, but it was scratch weight every day. So that wasn't too
That's not,
fun. We didn't get a growth allowance. I'm glad things in wrestling have changed, or even day in, next day weigh in allowance. So yeah, so I ended up taking 5th at the national tournament. It was in New London, Connecticut. Then I came back, was ready to graduate as far as everything goes, but I wasn't ready to graduate. I wasn't ready to leave. So then I was a grad assistant at UW-Whitewater for the next 2 years after that, the 94 season and then the 95 season. So that's through college, and that's where I met Steve, and then a lot of other great guys at UW-Whitewater.
Go
And
Warhawks.
yeah, exactly. And I say that Willie Myers wasn't done with me, and so he wasn't ready to set me on my way. Then I'll just throw it right at you. I was at another part of a state team sectional team, but I was just a volunteer on their coaching staff. So, well, I may have been 2 actually. That next year after I had finished, I went to Stoughton for a year.
yep.
And
And didn't you go to Were you at Waterford too, or no?
yeah, then right after that I was at Waterford. Yep. And so I helped a college teammate of mine, Luke Francois. So I was in that room, having fun with coaching and wrestling and helping develop kids. And then after that, I went to Cedar Grove, Belgium, was my first head coaching job. And then I was there through, I believe, 2004. So I took over for Jerry Peterson there. And then his son, Trevor Peterson, who just finished up a year ago at Cedar Grove, Belgium. I coached him might have been his junior and senior year, or maybe just his senior year. I can't really remember. And then from there, life changes. I got a transfer in my job, and I moved to the Madison area, and then I coached at Middleton for a little over 15 years. And then you had some really great teams and some really, really great wrestlers, and it was awesome. And then around that weird time we had back in that pandemic, just not that long ago, I decided that it wasn't the place that I wanted to be to to be able to, hopefully get kids where I want to be to be as competitive as I think that a team should be.
Yep.
And at the time, I was helping out with RT Elite, and so helping him out. And then I met the Heiser family, and they said, "Hey, why don't you come and coach at Evansville?" And from there, we end up here.
The rest
Well,
is history.
the rest is history.
Great podcast, everybody. We'll see you next
That was
time.
good.
Kent, I know I've asked you this before. Are you related to the current Auburndale Weilers in any way then, or is that just a big name in Auburndale?
Yeah, no, we're all related. We're all related. So, Nate Weiler, Colton Weiler, Carson Weiler, dad, and my dad were like second cousins. So, we're all related through that. So, I get to meet with that family sometimes at deer camp if we get time to get together. But anytime we see each other on the mat, it's a little bit of a Weiler reunion.
That's cool.
Who wins in a match at deer camp between you and Nate?
Nate Weiler is one of the strongest men I've ever met. And he's got youth on his side, and a little size too.
A little bit. Well, those Auburndale, Teague and I did a match, Auburndale Marathon this past year, and you're not going to meet a nicer group of people up in Auburndale. Good.
Yes,
people.
definitely salt of the earth, no doubt.
Yeah, good way to put it. Well, Evansville for 6 years already. So we must have had you on one of our first years for the sectional previews because you were still the Middleton coach, right? Yeah.
I finished up 5 years. This was my 5th year here, so not 6.
Okay, 5th year here. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I stayed with Middleton through 2020. Yeah. So is that right? 2020, 2021, maybe right in there. And then from here, the last 5 years,
Yeah,
5
2,
seasons.
3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that checks out. Well, yeah, worked nice that the Heisers called you. Get to have a good little talent in Mr. Owen Heiser when you come in. What was talking to Mason and John over the years, it seems like Evansville has never, at least in like recent years, like Evansville's never been short on a poor wrestling culture. Like they've always had a really good wrestling culture. So how was it like going into that program and maybe having more of a like-minded community that wanted to see their program succeed like you did?
Yeah, definitely. I think they had everything in place. Everything was laid out. They just needed, a little bit of boost and a little bit of a push, and to say, like, look, we're gonna train year round, try to the best we can, as many kids as we can. We're going to go chase losses. We're gonna flip the schedule, and we've done that every year. We're going to
What
we're
do you
going to
mean by that, Ken?
chase.
Flip the schedule.
Yeah, so the schedule was a lot of the schedule that was already in place was a lot of local stuff, but it was good competition, but it wasn't setting the stage for the state tournament or beyond, right? We have to go out and wrestle competition where we're okay with getting beat early in the season, so we can readjust and we can figure out things and we can find a way to put ourselves on the podium at the end of the year. And that's team wise and individual wise. So scratched some of the schedule. I went out and tried to find some of the toughest tournaments in the state, the toughest tournaments in our division and even outside our division, and try to challenge our kids and our parents and families and everybody to understand what we're going for. The whole intention was a team state title. And no doubt, it was very, very calculated and very put it together. And when you say, Mason and John, it's, Mason Braunschweig and John Fry and other parents, and, John Bollig, parents of kids that they wanted to push this thing, push the envelope a little bit and see where they could be.
Good stuff. Well, that brings us to this year, I think. We'll talk about this year's Team State Championship team. And you said the goal was to be a Team State champions at some juncture. When did you realize that this year's crew had the potential to be Team State champions?
Well, I'm not going to lie and say at the end of last year or going into last season that we didn't think we had the capabilities to put it together. So it started there, and then obviously it moved from our schedule. But let's not forget that our team state in 2023. We're that freshman group that we're seniors now. We're all a part of that team. They saw a really good team in Luxembourg Casco when we were at Team State. And I said, well, this is what we got to do. And it was like I kind of threw out the challenge block there. And I'm like, if we want to wrestle to that level and we want to compete, we have to up our training.
Yeah. Basically wrestle year round.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate, it's the catch-22 of our sport now. If you want to stand high on the podium, you are putting yourself in a wrestling room on a regular basis. Obviously, you can take some structured time off, but you are putting yourself either, in our wrestling room or club training or something, regularly, just so you are ready to go. If you want to make your mark at the WIAA team state or individual state, you're putting in the time and you're doing the work.
Well, then building off of that, and last year, the year before, this group of seniors this year, kind of experiencing that team section, or no, did you guys not make team sectionals last year? Did you guys end up finishing right behind Belmont Platteville? I feel like that may have, in the long run, maybe it was a key moment for people like, oh, like we got to be hungry this offseason.
Yeah, no doubt. It was that kind of thought process. What are you going to do? Like it was, our 2025 team was good, but we had some holes, and we needed to figure out ways to fill them holes and get kids up to speed so they can compete. And let's be honest, you're never. I mean, hopefully you have 14 kids that can wrestle all the time, but it's 14 kids is a lot, and it's a lot of work to keep 14 kids. I always say 17 to 20, where you can pop one in, pop one out, pull one in, and then they can compete. We started doing that a year ago, and then from the beginning of the year this year, we had, kids on pitch counts, to use a term.
Sure.
We had kids on pitch counts, and we wanted to get kids varsity matches or varsity level matches. So we were pulling kids out. We were wrestling other kids. We wouldn't wrestle a kid here and wrestle one there. Some tournaments that we go into, it was real clear in our minds that we're not coming here to win, the whole tournament as a team. We're here to figure some things out. And like I said this before in an interview, I have a really great group of assistants and coaching staff and not only that, parents and people that are, looking in and diving deep into the details. So I'm really grateful for everything they do that put us in a position where we knew exactly what we had. And so,
Yeah.
team, yeah. So we can go back to that later.
Sure. Yeah. I have like several questions, but let's get on to some tournaments. So I'll come back to them if they don't get answered.
Before the tournament, well, I guess this is in regards to the tournaments, but you talked about flipping your schedule. I guess we kind of talked about it, but going into this year specifically, what were you guys as a coaching staff looking for when building your schedule?
Tough dual meet competition and learning to wrestle as a team and understanding that concept that it's not about any individual on our team, that it is about our team in general. And the score at the end of the dual meet being what it's about, whether we can win and how we can win. And we put people in positions that, it was just fun to watch, right? If you could have the whole season, from the beginning to the end, we did it right from the get start.
Yeah, started with the Kramer Brown dual tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, we start with that, and it's a funny story. Like, and we went to the Kramer Brown in 2025 or 2024 in that December, and we lost a duel, because we had a kid wrestling in the JV tournament, and then we thought we were going to win every duel, but it was a great learning process for the coaching staff that we got a dual meet tournament here. We have to be all hands on deck. Then there's no reason why we should be losing a duel when we have the bodies to move around and fix. So that was in the 2024, and then 2025. We had that mission, like, this is what we're going to do. And we learned, right? Sometimes you got to get out of your own way a little bit and kind of just let it happen and let the kids do the work, and know that we put them in a position to do something, and where they don't need to get a major, they don't need to get a tech fall. Some kids, yes, you need that pin, right? Some kids, we were talking about minimizing losses and maximizing wins every day in the practice room. Every day it was like, what are you doing for the team? What can you do? What is your role? Know your role, understand your role. And that was a projected coaching strategy that we put in, and we set the kids up, and some kids knew their job was just to go out there and just wrestle. Doesn't matter, have fun, do what you do, but be in a position where you can just go out there and be a part of this ride that we're on.
That's cool.
So, Ken, you made the move for more dual wrestling this year. And how do you balance that with individual tournaments? Like, could you ever see, I'm not saying you guys did this year, but if a team did all dual tournaments in a year, could they, I don't know. My brain is just not working. How do you balance the ego of wrestling in more dual tournaments as opposed to less individual stuff, where it's like, hey, you have to do this for the team, as opposed to like, hey, you do whatever you can to go out and win?
Well, it's a hard concept, right, to get through to kids and to parents, obviously, to understand that. We talked about it as a group. We put and let me go back to Willie Myers a little bit, and Steve,
Yep.
you might know this and might remember this. While I was coaching with him, he talked about peaks and valleys in schedules, right? And so, peaks and valleys be individual, peaks and valleys being team, and your schedule is laid out that way. So, and that's what we look at, peaks and valleys. We go through a dual meet tournament, and then we flip that with a hard individual tournament, and that could be your valley, right? So we have individuals that go through a hard individual tournament like the bi-state, and then you come back with a team thing, and so they learn through that. And yes, is it hard to get a group of kids and a group of community members and family members to understand that we had 35 dual meet wins and 1 loss after this season. I mean, that's a lot of dual meets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we were 32 and 1 going into the team state quarterfinals.
Wow. Well, it's funny you talked about that, Kent, going into a tough tournament. You said the bi-state, and then with a team like Evansville, then you take a team tournament where you can kind of go whoop up on some teams. But right after bi-state, you guys went right back up to lacrosse and you wrestled in the Clash. So there's that wasn't the case this year.
Yeah, kind of the message there was we're going to do hard things, and if we're going to do this, nobody's going to give it to us easy, right? So we're not going to take the easy way, and the easy way would say, oh, after the bi-state, we had some losses that we shouldn't have had at the bi-state. We didn't, we came 4th overall as a team. We had a different lineup kind of almost every week, but it was, we're going to do this hard thing, and if we're going to win this whole thing at the end, having that team focus, we're going to have to understand that we're going to have to do this and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of another blessing that we had one night in our home beds, I think less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
It was the quickest turnaround. And Coach Stanek actually said to me at the bi-state, how do you guys do that? Or how are you going to do that? And I told him, I said, Coach, we're going to do a hard thing, and we're going to learn from it, or we're going to not learn from it. We're going to learn and grow, and we're going to figure ourselves out. And it turned out well. I mean, we got whooped by the one team from Minnesota, but we didn't wrestle our whole lineup there. But we learned to wrestle as a team, and kids understood it, and parents understood it at that time. And I've said this before, the Clash changed the dynamics and the trajectory of this team. And after that, I mean, there's even more fun.
We'll go back to bi-state real quick here, and then we can dive more into the Clash. I get a couple different philosophies from coaches, whether it be at bi-state or even on a different level at the state tournament. There's some coaches that, like Coach Stanek, he has his kids trained. It doesn't matter where it is. The stakes, we treat every tournament the same. And then I know some coaches where they still do the same routine, but they acknowledge with their kids, like, yeah, this is a bigger tournament, but if you acknowledge that, like, you step up and wrestle that way as well. How do you attack preparation for the quote unquote bigger tournaments, Kent?
It's the same, and I think his philosophy is right on. I like that philosophy that it doesn't matter. We're just going to go out there and wrestle. Mm-hmm. And I've been using it for a while, and we're going to score points and have fun. Big smile and show some gratitude for the sport of wrestling and appreciate the fact that we're able to go out and compete and score points and have fun. So, yeah, I got a little routine before a dual meet or even before a match. We're going to smile afterwards, hopefully, and not always does it happen. We're going to smile afterwards and before we go on the mat. A little bit of a handshake, go out and score points and have fun and just let it rip and see what happens. The outcome doesn't really matter. We're already in the process, right? And so we'll see what happens with that. So I think that growth mindset for coaches is probably a really good thing to put into their kids and instill there, that it's a process and the outcome is going to be what it is regardless, and be appreciative for the opportunity and go from there.
So bi-state, you guys do finish. I had the tab open. Maybe once. What was it? 6th as a team? 5th.
I thought it was 4th, but it could have been 6th. I don't know.
And it was 5th. We were right in the middle. Yep.
Right in the middle.
There we go. So as an aggregate, we were right. Yeah, talk us through the bi-state. It can be individual performances or just performances as a team in general, but just take us through. We can unpack that tournament a little more.
Yeah, well, in that situation, we were out there taking losses, and and just wrestling hard. We wrestled a good tournament. Did we have our best lineup that we wanted? No, it was not. I mean, later in the season, it shows that we put a different lineup in there that um, performed better at tournaments. And when you're talking over right after Christmas and New Year's, it's really hard to get all the players on board, right? We have to get them on the bus and take it to the bus, and um, but the whole lacrosse thing, whether it be by state or the clash, that was definitely by design. We knew where we were going. We knew where we wanted to be. We had to get comfortable with the surroundings, the hotel stay, the making weight twice, all those things, and then the lacrosse center in general.
Yeah.
We spent time there for a reason, for that reason. So um, we have a lot of fun in lacrosse. We have a hotel that I don't want to give out any secrets, but it's far enough away. It's got everything we need. Does it have? Is it the old bells and whistles and chandeliers? Absolutely not. We are on a business trip. Um, but it's a good place to sleep. The people that own it are fabulous to us, and it gave us an awesome routine that we understood, and the kids knew what they were getting. So when we went back for the clash or team state, it was familiar surroundings for them.
It's funny that a bell just went off as you said that. I'm like, that's right. I forgot the clash was at the lacrosse center too, and then obviously team state. So that's a man, very wise, Kent Weiler. Nice job.
Not many people call me that, but
Well, I think you're fantastic. So I won't get into personal stories, but you you're a good dude, man.
Hey Ken, we gotta jump back to your wrestling story real. But when did you make the move to also doing officiating stuff?
yeah, so that was so my officiating stuff was well, I dabbled in it a lot for a lot of years, right? And never kind of fully got into it since probably 18 or 19. So I coached with the WWF on the freestyle coaching staff um, while I was at Middleton, and I'm like, hey, I think I can do that. And I kind of wanted to just a little feel for it, and already knew this as a coach that because I've talked to a lot of officials, um, it made me a better coach.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some officials out there, I think it's a catch-22 because I work with a lot of the officials and certain things I do. And yeah, so sometimes, and I'll be honest, it gets me in trouble. But I also learned to be a better coach because of my officiating and because of the high level of technique that the wrestlers go through. Um, so I've been able to do like the last six, I think, US Opens, and I'm actually missing this week kind of on purpose. I need to give myself a little bit of time. Um, and everything else going on that I wanted to kind of step back a little bit. So I've got to do senior levels at trials, opens, U.S. Open, certain trials, U23s, U20 World Team Trials, U17, U15 World Team Trials. So it's probably I got into it around 2018, kind of heavy. Once my children had gotten out of high school, I dove in deep, and I jumped into that world, and it really did make me a better coach.
Yeah, I know that was a little bit off the beaten path, but I hit him like, okay, Kent's like a world class official. We got to ask him about officiating at some point.
Well, I don't, I can't, I can't. So there's an age cutoff, and I would tell anybody that's listening to that, you want to be, you're a coach, whatever, do that stuff before like around 35, between ages of 35, and get your level. Because I got my level and I was too old. So United World Wrestling, they're probably going to have a. I'm going to have to sue them because of age discrimination. Because I can't get on. I can't do, a high level. I can only do stuff in country
Yep.
because of my age. So if you
Interesting.
want to become a high level official, freestyle, Greco, or even folk style, get into it earlier. So freestyle and Greco for sure, so you can get your rating and get to where you need to be. It takes a lot. It's a lot faster in USA Wrestling, and that was one part of my acceleration in USA Wrestling is because I was a Team Wisconsin coach for a number of years.
Okay.
Take note, Steve.
Wow. Kent's been on me to do freestyle every year, and I'm like, I always seem to find an excuse how to get out of it. This year, I just decided to get a new hip.
Steve, one day you'll be
Probably
going
a viable excuse.
going from the Cambridge Middle School Jamboree to World Team Trials someday.
There you go.
Well, Ken, I'm sure you could empathize a little bit with the officials as you had two of the most exciting bi-state finals matches that I got to see. I know it did not end up in Evansville's favor, but Colton and Collins matches, oh my lord, was that some good wrestling.
Yeah, it was, and that's why we wrestle that level of a tournament, so we can figure that out. And Colton learned something from that match, and so did Colin. And though that's why you do it, right? So it's part of why those kids are as good as they are, because they've opened their mind and they learn from their mistakes and they understand where they're at. Colton especially, he got the same thing done to him, I think, 3 times. So we reviewed that tape, probably on the bus ride home. Reviewed that tape. And then Colin, I think there was just a brain lapse there, and he brain lapsed the last 10 or 7 seconds of the match and got taken down right at the end of the match. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch those. That was just some...
Tell you what, calling the action for those were awesome. But well, my only note from bi-state, Kent, I thought you were going to throw me out of the place because it seemed like I was trying to get some Evansville clips. Teague and I were running around getting some Evansville clips, and I came to 2 matches that were, one that I think you guys were a little bit favored, and one where you were probably heavily favored, and all of a sudden both those guys get upset. And then I was at a 3rd match, and I'm sitting next to Kent on the floor, and one of his guys are winning, and I'm filming, and all of a sudden he's winning, and something happened. Your guy ended up winning. All the names I don't even remember, but all of a sudden he almost got upset, and then he ended up winning. But I'm like, I'm going to stop filming these Evansville guys. Kent's going to kill me. So it ended up being clips going the opposite way. So I just thought, I'm not going to sit by Kent anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
you had a good couple weekends in lacrosse. Oh, anything else on bi-state or the Clash?
No, just Steve. I don't wrestle the matches; they do. So like I don't. I've kind of lost that a while ago of getting real mad. I just understand where they're at, and they're high school kids, and it can happen.
Right.
You don't want to be clipped. Just get your win. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the Clash was the competition is great. And I'll say this about the Clash: we went in and we got a team from Connecticut right away, and they were, I don't know what seed they were or whatever, but they were a private school from Connecticut, and literally our guys had ghost face or deer in the headlights, whatever it might be, and they were like, we just were here for the bi-state, now we're back, and they were like, literally, I could tell before the dual meet that I'm like, they're not ready for this, right? So we had a little powwow, I guess, and I told him, I said, listen, I've never heard of Connecticut wrestling, right? I don't know anything good from Connecticut. It's like the size of Dane County. And I said, so in Wisconsin, we got good wrestling in
That's right.
Wisconsin. So you guys, maybe a couple words that probably aren't good for a podcast. And I said, you guys got to get ready to go. And they wrestled and they performed.
That's
So
good.
we beat a team right out of the gates that we shouldn't have probably beaten. We won some tight matches, and that was kind of the trajectory of our Clash tournament.
Let's hope this doesn't make it to Connecticut wrestling, because Kent Weiler is going to become bulletin board material.
Well, maybe they'll bring a better team next year.
Love it. Was that Piers? I'm looking at your. It doesn't show like the schedule, but
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't find it either.
let's see. No, I have it somewhere. I'm trying to think. It was a prep school in Connecticut. Let's see. I got it written down here somewhere. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right. That's all
you're
right.
good. For some reason, the Clash just doesn't have a bracket page that I can look
Yeah,
at
there.
with the team.
Okay,
stuff.
maybe I'm glad, T, because you're like the USA bracketing guru, and if you can't find it,
Well, it's not USA bracketing. That was on track.
Oh, that explains
So
it. Okay.
yeah.
I'll tell you what,
I,
if you look for good duel experience, Kent, you definitely got it at the Clash, because there was one duel that was outside of 12 points. Otherwise, it was pretty tight-knit all the way throughout.
Yeah, we definitely got what we needed out of the Clash. Team wise, us as coaches, we saw some things that we knew um, we're we're gonna have to go back to it sometime and figure out how kids how they were gonna respond, what they were gonna do, and then we got some young guys, some great experience wrestling in a pretty nasty environment.
jumping ahead a little bit, Kent, you talked about some tournaments, because I saw this, and throughout the year, Teague and I follow and watch tournaments, and we looked at the Freedom Irish Invitational and saw that you guys didn't win. Is that one of the? And I'm not trying to downplay, obviously the team that won it there, but is that one of those tournaments by design that you're talking about, where hey, we're not necessarily if we win it, great, but we're not necessarily coming to this tournament to win it.
Correct. Yeah, we didn't wrestle. Um, we didn't wrestle. I know we didn't wrestle our heavyweight. We didn't wrestle Tanner at that. That was by design. So there, injury wise, and some of the best things that can happen to you in tournament wise is that you don't know the score at all. You don't know, and then you come out and you're like, oh, that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether win, lose, or draw, you can't change that. Like if you go and tell your athletes hey, we need a major in this one, or you can't get pinned, or blah blah blah, because you're wrestling this school, all that does is change the match for them. So say as little as possible, I think, and put kids in a position where they can go out there and just have fun and wrestle. And the outcome is the outcome, right? We can't change that. So all about the process.
But you look at the Freedom Irish Invite too. It's like you look at it, and there's Evansville, Auburndale, Schacht, and Denmark. That's four team state qualifying teams there, and obviously Hortonville. You put them in a different sectional, maybe they're there as well. That's a heck of a tournament.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a really good tournament for us.
Yeah, you guys are kind of becoming staples up there in Freedom. I don't know if they're going to let the streaming guys leave, even if you guys end up not going there at this juncture.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Our YouTube guys will go anywhere.
Well traveled.
Yes, no doubt.
Well, Kent,
I'm gonna get
anything
that.
else?
I'm gonna get that Connecticut team just because I think they deserve a little respect here. Like if I can find them, it's just weird that I can't.
I'll see if I can come across them too. Yeah. Anything else on the regular season, Ken?
Oh, I know you want to talk a little bit about the. I thought
About the
preseason you
Whitnell
mentioned.
duels. Yeah, the Whitnell duels. We went there for just another duel situation, and because of weather or whatever, a team dropped out. I'm trying to think of who it was. Somebody we wanted to wrestle to try to better our stuff for the postseason. They dropped out, and then Nina jumps in. And at the time, they were the fourth ranked team in Division One. And we're like, how great is this? And
That's right.
that was another one that we had our full team there, and we wrestled well through the Whitnell duels, and they gave us really great competition, um, and we beat them. And then their coach was like, "I can't believe." I think at the time we might have been ranked like seventh. I can't remember what it was, and or third or whatever. And he's like, you guys are definitely not what you're ranked.
Take note, Zach. No.
Take notes.
Yeah.
Was that Kyle that said that to you?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Kyle's a good dude. He'll call it like it is.
Yeah, it was pretty straight. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta get your.
So yeah, that's about it on the
Well, and as we transition to the postseason, obviously, Rock Valley conference tournament, you guys, um, you did what you had to do there, and people have, I mean, you guys had what 11 and 12 in the finals, and the Rock Valley has some really good wrestling. That was my first time going to the Rock Valley conference tournament. That's where I got to be on the Evansville YouTube page. First time for me. Take it off the bucket list, but you can talk about the Rock Valley, but also talk about your crew with the Evansville YouTube page. And obviously, a question I get asked a lot, or sometimes people necessarily don't want us to come because they don't want stuff out there for people to be able to scout that. How is your obviously the Evansville guys, right? And I've said this numerous times, and Teague and I do production, right? Best production, not just in the state, man. They should do some kind of competition because those guys are obviously led by John Fry, but those guys are knowledgeable in their commentary. John Fry is one of the best production guys there are. But is that something that you ever talk about? Or do you talk to the guys about, hey, maybe not go to this tournament and that, or do you just let it fly and put it out there because obviously people are going to scout it?
Yeah, scouting to me, it doesn't matter, right, in that regard. And I've talked to them about that. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to do it hopefully well enough that you can scout what we do, but you're not going to, here or there. Might be a little bit of a gamble, but I'm okay with that because what our YouTube guys do for the sport of wrestling and Evansville wrestling is, bar none. They are a great group of dads. Start with that.
Yep.
That love wrestling, and they want to support us and they want to support wrestling. They just don't. Um, if you get an opportunity to sit and watch any of their YouTube stuff, they're there all day, like 13, 14 hours a day,
Right.
and they're talking about every kid that's there and every team. Um, they're they're Evansville fans, and there is times. So team sectionals, I told them no. I don't want. I need you guys in the crowd. Like I need you guys. You guys are it. So team sectionals, I wanted them to be. I wanted them to be dads and watch their kids, support their kids, and then we had a great group of commentators that filled in for them at the same time.
Well, next thing you know, John Fry is putting on a blue wig and getting the crowd rolling.
He seemed to have a lot of fun doing that. So
So, Kent, new postseason this year. And that 16-team sectional, top two make it. Little new look for Division II. And it's kind of like a full circle thing because we all know about the emotional roller coaster that individual sectionals is. And you still get 5 state qualifiers through. When I think about it, I know you guys probably had one of the more bittersweet days with, was it 4 or 5 third place finishers? So, take us through the roller coaster that is individual sectionals day, and especially with this new sectional format.
yeah, so I really like it as a coach for a long time. I've been supportive of this and trying to figure out a way that we could do what's best for wrestling and kids in wrestling and families in wrestling. So um, I went through the team sectionals the same way as I went through the bi-state or freedom, and that was we're going to go out and compete. We're going to have fun. We're going to put ourselves in the position where we need to be. Um, we were always thinking seed for the next thing, right? We're always looking forward, not looking back at where we've been. What could we do to put our best lineup out there? Make sure we had the kids ready to go, and it was a fun day. Here's one thing that I didn't understand. Um, we win the tournament, I guess by 30 points on that day, and we got nothing. No trophy, no nothing. I was like, dang. All right, I didn't vote for that.
Huh.
So
I didn't realize
you
that.
yeah. I was like, so I like they announced that we had won, right? And I walked to the head table, like send my guys to the head table, like, we don't get a trophy. So whatever they did with that regional trophy, what they cut, they probably should invest that into a team trophy at the
Sure.
individual sectionals. But that's just one man's opinion.
I like it.
I can get on board with that.
Talk about awkward though, Kent. I can kind of see you bebopping up there. All of a sudden, hey, oh yeah, you get nothing. Oh, thank you very much.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's kind of deflating in a way. I was like, well, I didn't see that coming. Somebody should have warned me about that.
Uh,
Love it. Anything else on individual sectionals or the day, Kent?
No, our kids wrestled their butts off and really had, like they learned, those that are coming back or learned a lot, and kind of realized what they needed to do individually to hopefully put themselves in a better position next season.
and what if you look at it is a very tough individual. You look at it and think Evansville, man. If you would have been in a different sectional, all that kind of stuff, and how many guys would have got through these teams. I'm just paging through these teams. It's like, wow, that was a meat grinder of a sectional, individual sectional.
Yeah, think about all the individuals in there. You just look at the individual names. There was 40 some ranked kids, 14 weight classes.
Yeah.
That's it was incredible. It was a great competition. If you happen to be a great fan of wrestling, like I happen to be all the time, I sit and watch. But I could, I sat and watched my guys, right? And I don't get to watch everything. But man, what a great bunch of kids.
As I'm
And
as I'm perusing through this, I'm gonna have to go through the finals, but it'd be nice. The Teague will have to do a percentage of how many guys out of this sectional are the top. So what is that? 28 guys. How many of those 28 placed at the state tournament? The percentage has got to be high.
I would bet it's in the 80s or 90s. No exaggeration.
We'll get the Encyclopedia John Fry on that one.
Yeah, I think I got sent the stats to me on that actually.
You did? Okay. I won't do it then. I'll wait.
So Kent, you guys win individual sectionals as a team. You get 5 through, and team sectionals rolls around. How are you feeling going into team sectionals?
We're feeling. I mean, obviously, we're feeling pretty good, right? We
Yeah.
wrestled well in a very, very, very tough sectional. We wrestled really well. We were like, man, and I was pretty devastated with some of my seniors that didn't make it through, or some of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was heartbreaking for those situations. But when you think of kids like Race Howlett and Lincoln Keller, they're team leaders. Those two kids responded and rebounded really well for the team and put them, to lead that way. So it's nice to see when you have kids step up, even though that their personal goals have fallen on the wayside.
I think it kind of speaks to the culture that you built too.
It is a culture of good kids, and it was also the focus, right? So it wasn't one of those things where, they had individual goals, and the individual goals were not happening, and they're not able to accomplish that. And so their ability to rebound, they're young, right? They're 17, 18-year-old kids, or 16, whatever. Their ability to say, look, I'm going to reset, and we're going to go and get ready for the next week so we can get our team in place.
I'm looking at your dual results from team sectionals. Did Tanner Zastapil, did he really not wrestle a duel from team sectionals on? Wow.
I don't think Tanner Zassapil did. I don't think Caden Butts did. I don't think, Hunter Worrell wrestled at Team State. So those upper weights, I don't think we had to worry about it.
Yeah. Did I just hear a rooster?
That'd be our chickens. Yes, Teague. So
The
yeah.
Lurkwin house. Okay.
I'm in the bedroom and the windows are open, so no going downstairs for me. No stairs for me till next week.
I just had to make sure I wasn't on pain pill. Again, for team sectionals, you guys take care of business against Lodi, 52-20, and finals against Mount Hora Barneveld. And it could be starting weight. The starting weight was great, but in terms of how your kids wrestled, the chips could not have fallen any better for how that duel played out for you guys. Take us through that Mount Hora Barneveld duel.
Jeez.
So I'm not looking at it on paper, right?
Yeah.
I'm that guy that moves right on to the next one. They wrestled fabulous. I think we start out with Colin Fry at
Yep.
113. Is that right?
Or Colin was
Yeah,
at 120.
Yep.
Or he
moved him
went.
up.
So at 130, do we start out? We start out at 120 right away.
Started at
Yes.
120 and you moved the hammers up. Yep.
It would move the hammers up, and then I'm trying to think of how. Yeah, well, there was a lot of pretty cool matches in there that we were able to score bonus points. I think the Benny Braunschweig match is the one that sticks out. And then please, can you tell me, so I'm not looking at it? Like I said, I move on to the next one faster than anybody else, and I didn't even look at my stat sheets from team sectional. Can you give me a reminder, and then I can fill in the blanks.
So to give you a little play-by-play or a little box score, duel started at 120. You guys won the first 6 matches, 5 of which were by pin. The other one was a tech fall from Colin. And Mount Horeb got a pin. You guys pick up 10 more after that. Forfeited out to Mount Horeb the last 5 matches. And like you said, I'd probably be on the same page. I think a crucial result in that was Benny Braunschweig being down 4-1 to Max Stevens. And then he gets
there was a reversal in there, and then was the one after that. So that was at 132. The one after that was at 38, Brandon Staver.
Yep.
Yep.
And what happened there? I think there was another really.
Staver got a pin.
He was up 7-0. Got a takedown in the pin.
Yeah, know this. He's our 132 pounder, right? But I think we
Yep.
weighed him in over 132, so we could wrestle him at 138 or possibly 144 if we needed to. So there was a lot of strategic stuff going on in the backside with my assistants and a group of people that really did a fabulous job of laying that one out. So it's just, that's the way you do it. And yeah, I mean, I think people were looking forward to the rest of the duel, but we had no reason to wrestle the rest of the guys. There's no reason at all. We had this, the scoreboard, what it was, and let's take it. And they gave us a trophy.
Yes. Hot dang. That's awesome.
Yeah, and our fan base just like blew it out of the water that day. The expectation was to come loud and proud, and they did. And they traveled well up to Mount Horeb. It was a great environment, and our guys were dialed right in, and we took care of business.
Take care of business. You very much did.
Kent's so dialed in. He's all about the wrestling and not paying attention to all the details. He didn't even go to Mount Horeb that day. He wrestled in Lodi.
Yeah, at Lodi. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Come on, Steve.
Kent and I go way back.
I was gonna say you
Yeah, that's
can't pull
okay.
too many fast ones on Kent, so you gotta take advantage of it when you can. So Kent, we'll talk individual state quick before a team state. Again, kind of it comes with the territory of individual state, but was a roller coaster of a weekend. I will say, big props, 5 qualifiers, 5 place winners. Take us through individual state.
Yeah, so I'll start. 113. Obviously, Colin Fry gets with a kid that we know is going to be trouble. When we had, gets in the quarterfinals, he's the number 1 seed. Didn't wrestle very well. Gets beat, comes back to place 5th, which is pretty awesome. Then Colt Bollig, wrestles the way he does and did what he did. He did, gets into the finals again against Rashawn, and kind of separated the gap a little bit more between him and Rashawn. 138. We have problems with everybody does, and it's not just us with wrestling somebody the 3rd time. And that was Liam Crandall in the quarters.
Yep.
And then he wrestles the East Troy kid, and then he beat him twice before in the season, and he beat him at I'm sorry, the Beaver Dam invite, beat him in the finals there, and then he beat him in the conference finals, and then loses it to him at the state tournament. Kind of heartbreaking, but he comes back and wrestles really well and takes 5th place. And then, Tom Heiser goes into, yeah, just he just continued to get better.
The ascension of Heiser, yeah.
Yeah, so he got better from, bi-state clash, and then he started to really roll around individual sectionals, and then he jumped a level in his wrestling from there until the individual state, and just kind of rolls through the state tournament, kind of gets to his as a sophomore at 175 in a great spot. Does really that well there. Did I miss somebody in there? Nope. And then this is the last one, Tanner's Asapil.
Yep.
Is that 5? Hopefully I
sir.
talked about everyone. So Tanner's a good story, right? Came out as a freshman, and then we had a conversation his sophomore year about him coming out. He wanted to get big for football, and I said, That's great. You get big for football. So he stayed out of wrestling. Then he came back last year, um, and wrestled really well for us. Gets in the state tournament and gets a placement match. And this is, people saw it, but I don't know if they knew it or not. But he dislocates his elbow in the 5th and 6th place match at the individual state tournament. So it was kind of a little crushing, a little defeating for us. We didn't know if we were going to be able to use him. But he's there. He's like, I'm weighing in. I don't care when we got to team state. I'm saying after that
Right.
individual state. So could he have went on the mat? Probably not. We didn't need him, so everything fell the way it was. I mean, we had a plan. We definitely had a plan, and I think we could have done the same thing with our plan. I don't know. It would have been a little bit harder if we had to go and wrestle heavyweight. So, yeah.
And I'll say, Ken, adding to our multitude of foot and mouth moments with Evansville over the course of the years, that Steve and I were on the same page that Tanner's availability could have been an X factor at team state, and then he did not even need to wrestle.
Yeah, wasn't even needed. Well, hey, go back to the blood round match at state with Tanner and Bobby Edwards from Pewaukee.
Yeah.
Teague and I have really become big fans of Bobby Edwards. He's probably one of the nicest dudes in all of wrestling. It's funny, we were watching him after Tanner's match, and he loses 5-4 in a tight one. And I said in the commentary, I'm like, Teague, it looks like Bobby's consoling his coaches after that loss. Bobby's got his arm around his coaches, and he's like kind of like almost pumping them, like, hey, I'm just a junior. I'll be back again. Don't worry about it. It's just, oh man. That was fun.
Yeah, I didn't get to see any of that stuff. Obviously, we were kind of enjoying the process with Tanner and being able to place at the state tournament. Right. It was a while back in the season. It was just a funny conversation. I went to him and we had always talked about him, being close or right there, qualify or whatever. And I went up to him. I said, I'm never calling you a qualifier again. This is about a month before the state tournament. I said, now you're a podium guy. Let's go.
There you go.
So it was fun. I was like that. It changed with me. I knew he could be there, and then he just brought a little bit of a different attitude. And that match, that 5-4 match, I mean, there was one that he just dug out, right? You figure it out and you make it happen. So he wanted it really, really bad, and I'm glad he got to be there.
Well, and when he got hurt with Isaacson, Teague and I didn't say anything about it on air, but we both looked at each other like, uh-oh. And but like you said, you guys wrestled so good, and obviously we'll transition to that right now. You guys wrestled so good, you didn't need him.
No doubt.
That team state, Kent. Never mind. I'm not going to jinx anything for Mr. Bollig here, but Kent, you have coached one 4-time state champion already, and I don't know if a coach has done it with 2. I'd need to look back, but that's all I'll say on that, and I'll knock on wood too, just for extra respect as well. Team state. How cool is it that there was 2 teams from the Rock Valley Conference at team state?
It shows what Steve said earlier, that the wrestling in the Rock Valley is pretty tough. We've had our moments, and I think we can have more. And I think this shows that we can, as groups in the everybody can raise their level a little bit. And it's hard, it's competitive, right? It was pretty cool to see East Troy there. And we're like, well, obviously our conference is pretty good.
That it was, yeah. Well, you guys got off to a hot start, 56-19 against East Troy. And against St. Croix Falls, duel started at 106 pounds. It's the classic starting weight class here. And seems to be the story of your entire dual postseason. You guys got off on a heater, and I know there was still, points wise, it was still a duel with 4 weight classes left, but yeah, I don't know, Ken. I don't know how much hyperbole I can put into it. You guys just wrestled so well at Team State, and it really showed it with St. Croix Falls.
Yeah, they're a really great coach team. Their coaching staff is awesome. It was, they've been there more than us, and they obviously understood the fact that Coach Rhaegar says you're forfeiting out, and I said yeah, and he was like, I get it, and then they were on our bandwagon, which was really really cool, and he said, if you guys beat us, you better win the whole thing. So how cool for for us and them. But yeah, our kids wrestled extremely well, and I mean, I want to put like there's some highlights in there somewhere that they gotta finally get to. I know I had East Troy, but let's see. I guess we don't need to go through the whole dual meet. I think the Coleman one is a little bit more special, obviously, because it's a championship one. But yeah, we had.
Well, Benny and
We
Brandon
knew,
got big wins for you again.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, Benny got a major decision, right?
Yep.
Um, and so and then Brandon, I don't know if it was back and forth. I can't really, but I think it was. I think there was. Um, we got cradled, um, and then we got on top. We cradled, and then I think we cradled again, and that's what put us in the win column there. Sorry, my losing some power here. Hold on.
Okay,
Yeah, a little
I
bit
got to
scary
give you.
because. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Steve. You go.
I was going to say a little bit scary because Kelly got a cradle late as well, or a turn late as well. So it
Right,
was.
exactly. And I'll say this about Brandon Staver: you got a kid that's going to fight for every point. That's the kid, and he's going to work as really, really hard to put himself in a position. So it was fun to watch him, but and that's a kid that's a junior, right? He's got a couple brothers that wrestled for Evansville, and it was just team wrestling at its finest, right there, no doubt.
And for team coaching, Kent, I got to say, very savvy move of you. I know the results show that Tommy can beat Drake Peterson, but I respect you bumping Tommy away just for a more for sure win, and maybe respecting the Peterson cradle a little bit. But when you bump Tommy to 190 and seal the duel at that point, was that part of your logic? Moving him to 190 was like, all right, Tommy can beat Drake, but Drake maybe also has the potential to beat Tommy. Was that kind of
Yeah,
going
I
through your
don't.
thought process at all, or?
Yes, absolutely, right. But the way Tom was wrestling, we knew that if we could be in a position to do it differently, we were going to move away from Drake, and then we could get Tom to score more points at 190. So, and that's not me again. That's my coaching staff, right? They were the guys. They send them to me, and I send them out, right? And I trust the fact that what they're doing. Jared Meyer and Michael Belmonte, those guys put that stuff together, like, and they sent them right over. And I'm like, what do we got to do here? And that's usually after they started. I trust the fact that they can do that.
Love it. Yeah, that was one I saw that move, man. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense there.
That makes sense. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
All right, well, you guys get the win at 38-32 over St. Croix Falls. And final duel of the year for you guys. Against Coleman, 39-29. I know you got the highlights for that, Kent, so take us on the journey of that finals match.
Well, again, the draw for us on that day couldn't have been. It just worked out. The stars aligned and everything. So we had to go almost straight up. We had Colin Fry going against Nowak, who's like, he's a little tough kid, and I think if we were fifth at the state tournament, but we didn't. Did we wrestle him? I'm trying to think. I don't
No,
think we did.
Oh, did you? Oh.
I can pop back
Yeah.
and find it.
Bentley placed third, so you guys didn't wrestle. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and Colin did what Colin does, right? He wrestled really good, and I think he was still a little ticked off from the individual state tournament and how he wrestled in the quarterfinals. And so he did exactly what he needed to do. And then Balig next, he comes up with a pin, like he takes care of business there. Benny Braunschweig, and there's one when you talk about a kid that should have been at the state tournament. Benny Braunschweig just couldn't make it out of our sectional. And he does exactly what he needs to do, right? Just a decision. And then Brandon Staver at 132. So the Coleman kid, really tough. He minimized the loss. He got tech falled. I mean, if he could have did any better, obviously he would have got majored instead of teched, right? So he saved us a team point there. Liam Crandall does what he does and just took his time doing it. Like it was going to happen. He was just, you could tell how frustrated he was. I got to say this, guys. I think Liam Crandall had like 47 pins this year.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous, right? A freshman at 138. And so we kind of know what he's going to do. Race Howlett, a senior, another kid that we probably should have had at the state tournament that just couldn't get through, does his job in the decision, wrestles really, really well. Lincoln Keller, the only thing better he could have done in that particular moment is get a pin. He tech falls, and he's a pinner too. Lincoln's a pinner, but we gained a couple points there from a decision. Then the next one, Adrian Wessels.
Wow.
Another one you could say he's a 25-16, right? Against 36-12. And we didn't have him winning. He wins 1-0. And I don't know if the kid is a Gruber. If he
Gruber,
was
state qualifier.
Yeah, I don't know if he was injured. He didn't go down, right? So Adrian Wessels controls the center. I don't know if he got called for stalling, but with that officiating crew, I'm sure he got called once.
No, he didn't.
He did not.
Yeah.
He held the center and really worked the out of bounds line perfectly. Shot him out. Wasn't trying to, do anything more. So he wins that one. And then we have young Johnny McCarthy. We put him out there just for that reason. So you know in the process of coaching that if you forfeit, right, if it comes to a tie, it's part of the criteria. So we're like, nope, Johnny, you're going out there, kid. So he went out there, did his part, right?
Yep.
And then at 175, they put a kid out there, and I think they just thought, well, who's this kid that came out there? And this is a great story for us. And I don't know, I'll say it publicly because I think it's really neat. We have a kid, Corbin Hoffman, who's a junior, started wrestling as maybe as a sophomore. He might have wrestled as a freshman, but not a whole lot. But sophomore year, he comes out, decides not to stick it out. And I say this to my coaching staff: how we treat kids when they don't come back to us or when they quit means so much. And we treated him really well in the fall. And I saw him a couple times in a gym class, and I'm like, "Hey, kid, hey, Corbin." And he was doing like one of these dances where he gets down on one foot and they kick your feet up. It's like a Russian dance, you know, and he's doing this dance. And I'm like, "Hey, Corbin, how about you do that after a match you win at state tournament?"
Nice.
And he's like, and he goes, he just looks at me. I said, "Yes, I want you to wrestle this year."
Nice.
So he comes back out for the team. He didn't wrestle as a sophomore. And this is one of those kids we did a lot of pitch count with. We put him in, put him out. You know, obviously, we got to back up Tom Heiser at 175. And we almost had him skin folded for 165, and that probably would have helped us out a lot, but we were just a little bit too heavy.
Yep.
And so he comes out and does a job in the state finals, right? And not only did he win, he gets a major decision. I didn't even think to remind him to do that little dance on the side of the
Oh,
bench. It's pretty
that's funny.
cool. But again, that goes back to the beginning of the story: how you treat kids when they quit.
Yep.
Everybody's
Don't
got
give up on
something
'em.
going on. Yep. You
Sure.
got to take care of them. And he decided to come back out this year. And oh, God bless him for that.
That's awesome.
That's
And
gonna be the
then,
one thing I take from that. Yeah.
and
Well, one of the
then
like
obvious,
maybe the biggest thing. Yeah.
yeah. And then Tom Heiser does what he does, right? Took his time doing it. Not really took his time, minute and something, but I think he turned him a couple times and turns him right to the edge. So, and that sealed it for us.
Yep.
And I get the fan portion of it, that you want to see kids wrestle. We didn't need to put whoever out there at 215. Our bench knew what we had. We knew we had the score, and we spent a lot of time in lacrosse. So we were definitely wanting to celebrate our win and get back home, and go get some Culvers.
That's right. Ice
and,
cream, baby.
and get yeah, and bring that trophy back home to Evansville.
Well, how'd you feel, Kent, once the duel got sealed?
Yeah, I was a little bit emotional, right? So then we had to wait. We
A
had to wait
long
quite a
time.
long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I drink a lot of water when I'm sitting there. 'Cause I yell a lot and get a little excited, so I'm drinking water. So I had to go to the bathroom so bad. So I run across to go to the bathroom, and I'm trying to be alone, and I got like I'm tearing up a little bit because I thought it was how cool was that, and here comes two of my knuckleheads running into the bathroom. Weiler, and I'm like, "Oh, you guys caught me. I'm out of here." But
Oh
it
my.
was, yeah. So I was trying to. We had to wait a long time, but no, it was definitely so cool. So cool for this community. So cool for these kids that'll have lasting memories of doing something. That's the first time in school history for any sport. Um, yeah, it's. I think we've opened the floodgates, though. I think, which is good, and for you know Evansville, for doesn't matter what sport that they can do there. We've kind of set the stage for them. We kind of put it
Wait,
all
say that
out there
again,
for
Ken.
people.
Is that Evansville across the board? That's Evansville's first state championship. Any sport? Wow. As good as Evansville's been in all different sports, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Well, Kent, just to tie the bow on the team this year. First of all, congratulations again on the team state title. describe us. I'm sure you might have already brought this up at the banquet, but just give us a little synopsis. Talk about this year's group and specifically this year's seniors.
Yeah, there's not, there's not much I mean, I could talk all night about them, right? These are the kids that put in the time. Um, they they picked up the extra training. 90% of my kids go to RT Elite, so with Ryan Taylor. And I got to give him some big props too, because we work well. We work very well together, as far as his technique and training and stuff like that. But also knowing what the kids are going through on a regular basis. Not only myself and my practices, but also what they got going on there. So this group of seniors just going to be, you know, I think we can, I think we can replicate, but they've put in a lot of time and a lot of hard work. We had 7 seniors this year. In 2023, it's a lot different. I had 11 seniors on that team, or was that the year before? I think it was the year before, 2022. But yeah, Evansville's had a really good group of people that have worked to put kids here, and they've been really working hard. And I'm just glad and pretty humbled to be a part of it and being able to be a guy that can help support their vision and what they're doing. And I love wrestling, and I love to compete, and I love to win, and that's all part of it. But yeah, this group of kids and this group of parents and everything have put their kids in the right spot. They do the right things. Um, they, they're good kids. We have great group of kids that academically, you know, moving themselves to the next level, possibly wrestling in the next level. Um, it's just fun, and I'm really humbled to be a part of it.
Good stuff. Kent, last question for you, from me anyway. I don't know if Steve has anything. If you had to go back to Kent Weiler as a day one coach, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, that's funny you say that. I think sometimes I know this for a fact. I just need to get out of my own way a little bit. And I'm a pretty intense dude, and I kind of say what's on my mind. And um, I've learned and I've grown through the coaching process. And in the beginning, I guess I'm going to say this. I would learn to have more fun with it, and kind of, yeah, I like this part of me right now that's in the position where I'm at, that I'm continually able to have fun with wrestling, and not only that, coach to a level where I can put kids at a better space in life after they're done, right? And do they learn all that from me? Absolutely not. I've hired and I've had a great group of support staff and people around me to put people in a good spot. And I know that it's not me, and I take the ego out of it and my personal ego out of it, and to be able to say, um, I'm not the person that can help guide that kid truly, but I have a coach in my coaching staff that can. Um, all kind of fun stuff, but just, in general, you want to be able to put kids in a better space when they're all done with you.
That's awesome.
Cherry on
Well,
top.
and you've done that too, right? I mean, I think T kind of talked about it, but if coaches have a takeaway, it's how you treat kids, right? You had a kid who quit, and I think most coaches kind of take that personally. And like you said, you don't know what's going on through a kid's life, and because you treated him right and you understood his decision, the kid came back for you, and won a match for you at team state. I think that says a lot about who you are.
Yeah, it's all about how I've learned and grown myself through the process. And it's pretty huge, right? When I could see that, look back, I don't have any regrets throughout my coaching years and time or anything like that. Um, every year that I've coached, everything that I've done, it's always about, I've learned and grew through that process. And that's one thing that I truly try to emphasize with my teams. Let's learn and grow together. We just like a lot of teams, we've had a lot of we had a lot of things go bad throughout the year. Just little tiny things, and I can't even. I remember talking to actually Mason Bronsweig throughout the season one time, and I just told him, I said, man, somebody's got to be writing all these things down, all these little things that we're going to be just fine. And it seemed like the end of the world at the time to
Yep.
maybe everybody else around me. And we all just kept a pretty positive, pretty focus driven, process driven thought process, I guess. And we kind of stayed positive through every little tiny thing that happened. And we're like, that just another part of the process. Pretty cool memories.
That's what it's about right there. And I mean,
That's it.
being a part of a team state runner-up squad, I think more about the guys and the memories through the 4 years than I do, I think, the events of the wrestling by the end of the day. That's what I got for you, Kent. Hour 41.
Not
Pretty
bad.
solid.
Well, Teague, I just got to get this in real quick. I was going to kind of butt in when Kent was talking about a story, and I actually I told a partial version of the story when I was on the YouTube page with the guys. They brought up that I have a little bit of a history with Kent, and I won't go through too much. And when you and I worked the Granby camp and all that kind of stuff, but I do know this. Kent was a student coach when I was at Whitewater, and two of the toughest points of my life were times where I just thought, this is it, this is over, and all that kind of stuff. And the first guy that was there for me both those times, it was Kent Weiler. So I appreciate you, bud, and I appreciate what you've done for me in my life.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you, buddy.
I can't follow that up, Steve.
Oh.
That was gold.
Oh, great podcast, okay. Congratulations.
Yeah, Ken. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come on. Thank you for everything you do for the sport. Who knows? Maybe knock on wood. Maybe we'll have you on again the same time next year. Well, we'll see. A lot of wrestling to be had between now and then.
Yeah. Well, either way, Teague, no matter how good they are coming in, you and I both won't pick them. So we'll just go from there.
I think, yeah, for good juju, we'll pick against Evansville again.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
It's been a fun time. Glad I got to hear about your wrestling story and just to get more of the inside look at a state championship program and one of the people behind it, one of the main people behind it, I'd say. It's fun. So thank you for taking the time to come on.
I appreciate you guys, like I said in the beginning, what you guys do for the sport and for Wisconsin wrestling. It's been really fun to watch your guys' process and your guys' growth as you go through it. So I'm glad I get to be a part of this many times as I can.
Appreciate it. Folks, that's Mr. Kent Weiler, and you know what that means? 2 coaches down, 1 to go. If all scheduling works out, our next guest will be Mr. Jeff Mochick for the 6th time in a row, but it's a fun time every time we get him on. So tune in for that one. Thanks for catching this one, and until next time, we will catch you on the flip side.